apologize to those of you who watched from the beginning. Maybe it's a little disorienting and loud as I'm moving the camera around. Originally, I'd planned on sitting outside. I'm at Starbucks in Saijo. And by the way, there are two main Saijos. If you look for Saijo on the map, you might find Saijo in Ehime. Ehime is an island that is a big island that is south of where I'm at, south of Hiroshima, Chugoku, the Chugoku region. Ehime is south of Hiroshima. So if you look for Saijo and you see Saijo in Ehime, that is not where I'm at. I am in Saijo in Hiroshima, and that's a very different place. It's not too far from there, but it's several hours traveling, so it's not around the corner. But anyway, this Starbucks has been here for not very long, just since I say since last year, but last year only started a few months ago, or this year rather. Last year ended. But basically, this is a new Starbucks that opened up last year, and it's much more convenient for me to stop here sometimes. And I had a birthday coupon which I used recently, but today I had no coupon. Sad. But I decided to stop here after using a birthday cinema coupon so that I can just share some stuff with you guys. I'm not necessarily sure that a lot of you are going to be able to join the live stream, because it is, I think for a lot of you, it's going to be maybe very early in the morning, wherever you are. For me right now, it is about 9 p.m. in the evening here in Hiroshima. And you can see right outside here, there are people inside. It's actually a little busy. I'm not going to show you the line because I don't want people to think that I'm just showing the cameras or anything like that. I look up and there's already people looking at me. But it looks like to me, 4, 5, 6, about 8 to 10 cars in the line in the drive-through. But it is Friday night, so it seems reasonably busy. The main reason for today's live chat is so I can tell you about an experience I had today. And that is about a subsidy that I'm trying to get from my Kominka. I figured it was useful information, and I want to share it with you. One moment while I have a sip of my hot latte. It's pretty good. Okay, well, it appears that I have a couple of people in the chat. Let me see if I can... Yeah, I think I can see all of the chat messages. There aren't any yet, I believe. But I'm using a different phone today. Instead of using my cheap Samsung, I am using my other phone. That way, I can hopefully see your messages and actually respond. That would be great. But anyway, so today's topic is some requirements they have for subsidies. Now, if you remember some of the earlier topics, some of my earlier videos when I talked about this topic, not every location or every Akiya or every house or every particular area or whatever are able to get subsidies. However, if you meet certain criteria, then you can get subsidies. And of course, like we've discussed before, it's possible that those subsidies sometimes can come with strings attached. And actually, depending on if your house was purchased through the Akiya Bank or not, that can also determine if you're eligible for certain subsidies. So, just for example, although my house was an Akiya, I've I've had some people say, for whatever reason, that my house is not an Akiya because they're associating Akiya with Akiya Bank, and these are two different things. That's like saying a car and a car dealership are the same thing. They're not the same thing. You can get a car at the car dealership, but you can also get it from a private seller. Just like you can get an Akiya from a private seller, which is what I did, or you can get it from an Akiya Bank. I just happened to find my house on the Akiya Bank website, but I actually bought it from a private seller. Anyway, back to what I was saying. As far as the eligibility, the ability to get certain subsidies for your house, okay? I'm just going to call it your house instead of your Akiya, because like mine right now, mine is not an Akiya anymore because I live there, and I'm repairing it and cleaning it and restoring it. So my house is not eligible for a lot of subsidies because those subsidies were available only for the houses that were purchased through the Akiya Bank program of Higashi Hiroshima City. That said, my house does qualify for one particular subsidy, just one. Now, I think this subsidy is actually pretty good because even though it requires an upfront payment, it's not the type of subsidy that you have to pay everything and then get some money back. Because that's the way some of these subsidies work. For example, if my house were an Akiya Bank house, then I could have gotten money back for cleaning expenses or renovation expenses and things like that. However, I would have had to actually pay for those repairs first, or pay for that cleaning first, and then later they would pay me back a portion of that or a percentage of that. So I'd still be out of pocket in the short term. However, when it comes to this particular subsidy, the price to get it done at the minimal is around $3,000. And I was told by a few different people different prices, and I'm a part of a group that also discusses this, but some of these companies can charge up to like $7,000 for this type of service because they use some very high level equipment. And the service that I'm talking about is seismic inspection, or you could just say earthquake inspection and earthquake resistance. I apologize for the alarm. It is... One moment. Good time for a break. I actually found my mini tripod today, and I meant to bring it. And wouldn't you know it, I left it at home. I found it, and I should have brought it here. But I didn't know I'd be sitting here doing this. It is raining a little bit right now, and I'm outside. They do have an umbrella for some reason. I decided not to sit underneath it. But just for the sake of noise, I will probably get up and go sit in my van to finish. That way it's not too loud. So hold that thought. Let's stay where we're at right now. We're talking about the subsidies. Also, there's some cute kids playing. I don't want to interfere with them, and I don't want them to interfere with what we're doing either. So let's go over to the van, the EV van. It's not an electric vehicle. It is English Vira. English Vira. If you want to say it the exact Japanese way, it is English Vira. English Vira. And for those of you who don't know, my family name is English. So, in Japanese, if you want to say English, you say Ingurishu. Ingurishu. There you go. Now you know. If you didn't, but I think most of you do. At least my subscribers know. Anyway. Okay. I think the car next to me, they seem to be sleeping in the car. So I might even move the van a little bit to another location just to avoid the awkwardness of talking on my phone or potentially waking them up. Yeah, there are at least 3 people in this car over here. And one of them is looking at a phone, Two of them are bundled up in blankets. I guess they're traveling. But anyway, I see one person in the chat. Who's in the chat? Whoever you are, hello. Glad to have you here. I've got 3 likes for some reason. I think one of those is me. I liked my own video. You got a problem with that? Is there a problem? I can like my own videos. Yeah, it wasn't my daughter either. If my daughter's actually watching my videos, I'll be shocked. I don't think my videos are interesting enough for her. But anyway, I see one person in the chat and 3 likes. One of those is mine. Maybe one of those is yours. I hope so. And then the third one? Tis a mystery. Okay. I'm going to make this video a little sturdier as best I can by setting my camera right here. I've got a little clamp on my dash, and I think that it can hold my phone. Excellent. Yeah, that's much better. And I really don't need my glasses. I need these to read any messages. If any messages pop up, I'll try to read them with these. But anyway. Okay. Let's get back to the topic. But yeah, first I did say that I wanted to move the van a little bit because of the car next to me. I don't want to disturb them and, be all awkward and stuff. So I'm just going to move the van right over here. It's a huge parking lot. I think that I can find a better spot. Yeah. They said it was probably going to rain a little bit, and it is starting to sprinkle. So someone's behind me. Come around. Yeah, they just stopped behind me. I need to back up and park, and they just stopped behind me. I don't know what they're thinking. So I turned my hazard lights on, and then they went around finally. Okay, now I can back up. I don't know where you're at, but wherever you are, I hope the weather's good. Tomorrow's Saturday here, and I hope that there's some really nice weather tomorrow, because I really want to get some stuff done. Tiago is supposed to come over on Monday, so we should be building a lot of stuff on Tuesday. So my hope is that he and I can get a lot of stuff done on Tuesday. And between now and Monday, I hope that I can get a lot of stuff done. Now that light is bothering me, so let's see if I can turn this. I'm sorry. Don't mean to keep disturbing you. I finally move, and then the background, there's a background light that is just really annoying, isn't it? Okay, well, let's just do this, okay? Because I don't think the video is going to be very long, but it seems like no matter where I put the light, no matter where I put the camera, there's a stupid lamp, parking lamp. But I guess this is fine right here. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Now let's get back to the non-nonsense. All right, the main reason that I made this video is to share with you basically what happened. Okay, let's back up to when I tried to get the subsidy last year, because actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, my sensei, Saori sensei, she told me that there was a subsidy at the city hall that was available for me that I could do, and that was the earthquake inspection, or seismic inspection, or seismic resistance inspection, or whatever. And she said basically I pay 10,000 yen. For those of you who don't know how much that is, it's about $80 or so dollars, about $80. So I could pay $80, and they would do really thorough inspection. Normally it costs, could be $3,000 to $7,000. It depends on which company does it. And it takes them a while, maybe a few months, I think, to compile the data and get it back to you. And then they give you all this information about your house, and what needs to be done to correct it and get it up to code and all that kind of stuff. The requirements are pretty simple as far as the initial requirements. And for me, and with this particular subsidy, the first thing is the house has to be built at least before 1981. It has to be older than a 1981 house. Well, obviously, an Edo period house is beyond that. If you don't know, Edo period goes back between the 1600s and 1800s. So that's quite a lot older than 1981. So that's no problem. And the second thing is, of course, I have to be the owner of the property. No duh, right? So I have to be the owner of the property and I have to show that. However, there's one thing that's a little more important because that's easy to prove, right? That I own the property. I just show them my title and all of that. But the other thing about the actual property is that it has to have some type of registry, a house registry. Now this is where it gets a little tricky because I wasn't able to figure this out last year. My sensei tried to help me, but there was limited time to get that information to the city office and then turn it in time for the inspection. So I just waited until later. Obviously, I had a lot going on last year because of my health. I was supposed to turn that information in around April, but that was when I was really having a big problem with my health. And in May, I just crashed. I had to go to the doctor, and that's when I found out about the tumor on my kidney. So for obvious reasons, I wasn't able to really get into the details of how to get that registry. Now, for those of you who are in Japan or have some experience with Japan already, you might be familiar with what's called the Juminhyo. Juminhyo, it's a document basically that shows your registered address. So wherever you are, if you live in Japan, you have an address registered in Japan, you can go and get a copy of that and use it for various things. Now, sometimes it's required for certain things. Like, for example, when I bought this van, I needed a copy of the Juminhyo to turn in. It's kind of ridiculous, I think. I just think it's kind of a money grab, honestly, because you can't just buy one. I think it's maybe around 500 yen or something like that. It's not expensive, but the thing is, you have to actually go to either the convenience store or if it's registered. Now, I know it sounds silly, but if your registration, your address registration is registered with the I didn't realize it was going to be this complicated to explain because it sounds so silly when I actually say it. And I haven't thought about it until now, but here's the thing. Your address that's registered, if you want to go get that Juminhyo, then you can go straight to the government office and get it, right? But that's a big inconvenience because if you have to go to the government office every time you need it for something, like if you're going to buy a house or buy a car or a motorcycle or some other particular things like getting a parking space or whatever, it doesn't matter. There are a variety of things that you need to get a copy of that Juminhyo for. And of course, it's an inconvenience if you have to go to the city office every single time. Oh, I see a message on here. Yep. You look like Ozdarax? Oh, I don't know who that is, but I'll have to look it up now. I hope that's a good thing. Anyway, if you take the extra step of like registering your stamp, like your inkan, if you know what the inkan is, it's just your stamp. If you register that with the city office, and then from there after that, you can actually get your Juminhyo and some other information just from the convenience store. So you don't actually have to go to the city office to do these things. You can just stop at your local convenience store and print that out any time of the day that you want. So that's convenient. However, I still think it's stupid that you have to pay every time you want this document for something, like to buy a car, for example. you're going to have to pay 500 yen to get a copy. If you go to buy a piece of land or a house like I bought, you're going to have to get another copy. Every time you go to do something, you got to get another copy. And that copy goes bye-bye. It goes with the paperwork. You would think that you would just be able to have your own hard copy and then just copy it, copy, but you can't do that. It's got to be official. And there's no strong communication between these different departments and stuff. There's no way that the Department of Motor Vehicles or whatever, whenever you're buying a car, is going to be able to just get your data digitally for your Juminhyo. You have to go print it out and give them the paper. Why? Because it's Japan and they love their paper. Why do you think origami is so popular in Japan? Because they love their paper. That's just my guess. But anyway, once you have your address registered and you can get your Juminhyo and all that stuff, I thought that that's what they needed last year, because they said we need your registration and you have to turn that in with the proof of ownership of the house in order to get your subsidy or apply for the subsidy. And they kept saying, your house registration, your house registration, your house registration. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, because I brought all of the judicial scrivener's documents, my title, everything showing that I owned the house. It was clearly a very old house. I was clearly the owner. I had everything, but they were still talking about this registration over and over again. But it was just a matter of semantics. It was incorrect explanation. And unfortunately, my sensei was not able to actually go with me to the city office, so it was difficult for us to figure out exactly what was going on. Anyway, because of my health and my sensei's recommendation just to wait, because I wasn't living in the house yet, I waited. However, today I had time to go and try to figure it out. And what do you know? Not only did I figure it out, I got it all sorted out. And that's why this video, because I wanted you to understand that the house registration is completely different than your address registration. Your personal address registration where you live is not what they're looking for. Now, you still have to provide that because you have to prove that you're living in that house. That's another condition. So the house has to be older than 1981, built before 1981. It has to be, you have to get the registration for it, registration for the actual house, and you have to be living in the house, or at least someone has to be living that. But I think it has to be you, the owner, and you have to show that. Well, of course, I'm already living in the house. I moved in December. It's on my ID. All of my documents and everything have been changed over, so that was no problem. I could just show them. But then they asked me for the registration today. And it's so funny because I got sent around. I started off on the 9th floor of the government building. There are only 10 floors. I went to the 9th floor. They sent me to the 7th. The 7th sent me to the 8th. And finally, I got where I needed to be, and they helped me out. But from there, they said I needed to go to the Legal Affairs Office. Now, this is something you should remember if you're going to buy a house here, and then later on you might need this. But the Legal Affairs Office, for me at least, was not in the same building as the municipal government building. 1 second. Okay, it's not hot anymore, but it's still warm. So think about that. The housing department and development department and all of those types of agencies and offices were in the same building, in the municipal government building. And they have 10 floors there, and they have all sorts of offices for various reasons: family support, my number card, Juminhyo, address registration, tax, pension, health insurance, anything you can think of. It's pretty much all in the same building. But the legal affairs office was not in the same building. That was in a completely different building, about 4.5 or 5 blocks away. So, I mean, it was like a 9 or 10 minute walk, but I drove over there because I was on the way out anyway. And I got there just in time. When I arrived, once again, I got kind of bounced around. I actually went to the right window, but the guy thought that I needed to go to the other window. And then they sent me back to the other guy, but then they sent me back, and then they all started talking together. And I realized was they were just trying their best to work together and figure out as quickly as possible, how to help me so that they could get out of there, because they were going to close at 5:15, and I got there just maybe a quarter to 5, and I was the last person, so they were just trying to wrap up everything and then get me out. But when they asked for my address and information, my actual mailing address is like San 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 no Ichi, which is 333-1. But for some reason in their system it didn't show, and then they were trying to tell me I needed to get a judicial scrivener, okay? And here's one of the things that can help you to understand how helpful and necessary a judicial scrivener is, because not only do they help you get your paperwork together and prepared properly for your purchase, but they're also behind the scenes doing some things that you're not really aware of. Like, for example, creating your actual house registration. Because there's a difference between the property registration and the house registration. And when I was there, they were asking me for all sorts of things, like the property address, the lot number, but I was able to give them, because they weren't finding it. But when I gave them the name of the former owner, then they were able to find it. And then they showed me that the address registered there for the house was slightly different than the one that I gave them. It was just minus the 1. It was just 333. So, but they were able to find it, and they said, yes, it is registered, and it's in your name already. So, like I thought, because they were trying to tell me it's very complicated. It's a very complicated process. You have to hire a scrivener to do all of this. And I said, no. I've already done that. And when they finally found the property and then they saw that my name was on there, then they realized, yes, he's right. Because they didn't believe me. They were like, really? But one girl came over and started speaking English with me, because it's such a complicated thing to discuss in Japanese, and my Japanese is very, very basic. So at first it was a little difficult to try to explain, and I kept trying to tell them I already paid the scrivener to do all of this. And this young girl came over, and she spoke English well enough for us to communicate. So between Japanese and English, we're able to communicate just fine. I just dropped my glasses. I might need them. Pardon me a moment while I try to reach down here and grab them. There is a little room in this van, but I wouldn't say it's a tremendous amount of room. It's not easy to reach under the steering wheel. Oh, we got 3 people in the chat. 29 minutes. Holy cow, I didn't mean to go that long. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but like I said earlier, it seems like there's a lot more information involved when I start talking about it, because I was just going to tell you about this one thing, but there's a lot of other stuff connected to it. Anyway, long story short, since they found it, then they were able to just print it up, give me a copy, and it cost me, I think, 600 yen. 600 yen, I believe. And then I just had to put like a little stamp on it. It's a payment stamp. It's strange how they accept payment on some things. You have to buy the stamp, and you put the stamp on it, and the stamp shows that you paid. Once again, they love their paper, so it can't just pay for the document and get it. Instead, they give a second document that actually has a place for a stamp, like it looks like a postage stamp that has 600 on it. I pay 600, they give me the stamp. Then I can put the stamp on the document and give them the document, and that shows that I paid. And once again, Japan loves their paper. They're completely useless. They could just give me a small receipt and my registration certificate and let me go. But instead, we have to have a completely separate document. Completely useless. But anyway, I've got it right here. I'm not going to show you any detail. There's no need for that. It's right here. Very simple. It just shows that my house is registered with the Legal Affairs Office. I give that to the Housing Division over at the Municipal Government Office. I also bring my title showing that I have ownership of the property. I show them my ID, which they will probably want a Juminhyo anyway, because the Juminhyo it shows my address, my registered address, the official registered address certificate. So I'll probably have to pay another 500 yen to get that, and give them all of that information, and pay 10,000 yen after April. So I guess I can just go in June, or May rather. But I was told they would probably do the inspections in June. So I'm assuming that at the end of April, I turn in all the documents and I pay. They come out in June. They schedule with me and come out, do the inspection. And then several months later, they give me the results. They told me it could take as much as 6 months, or as many as 6 months before they're able to give me the results. So don't expect these processes to be fast, folks. It seems like they've often become fans of using COVID-19 as the excuse for literally everything. And in the world, it seems shipping overseas, it's COVID-19. And even Docomo, I was having a problem with my connection the other day, and I contacted them, and they said someone will call you back, but it could be up to 2 weeks before we call you back because of COVID-19. What does that have to do with anything? Is it really making it that difficult for people to just pick up the phone and call me and schedule a time to troubleshoot, my situation? I think that's silly. It just so happens they called me back the very next morning. So I don't know. I feel like they're just saying that now, just in case it takes several days. You don't have any real ability to complain, right? Because they could say, well, we told you it could take 2 weeks. So it's kind of like covering their bases when they know that they can easily get back to you within a week. But if they say up to 2 weeks, then they're never going to be wrong, right? They're never going to be late. Womp womp. Anyway, in case you're wondering, there's not a big COVID problem in Japan right now. So why they're still using these excuses, I have no idea. Anywho, I don't see any other comments or questions or anything in the chat. I see 2 people. Hello, 2 people. I'm glad that you decided to join me tonight. I am, like I said at the beginning, I'm in Saijo in Higashi Hiroshima, not Ehime. If you look on a map, I'm not in Saijo, Ehime. I am in Saijo, Higashi Hiroshima. I have to wear masks. That has never existed in Japan because they can't make anyone wear masks. But what the government can do is issue strong recommendations. So they'll have a recommendation in place for a certain length of time. And their mask policy can change from time to time. For example, the original really strong mask policy was essentially always to wear your mask when you're anywhere out in public. If you're going to be shopping or in a cafe, or even like when you're eating. And when you're not eating, you put your mask on. In a movie theater, you pull your mask down, you eat some popcorn, you put your mask back on. Pretty strict guidelines. Not that you had to follow it, but they were there. And then later they changed. And also, by the way, different areas had different restrictions. I'm in Hiroshima, so I remember several months ago when they changed the policy recommendation to when you're in close quarters, like in the train stations and the subway or the train cars and shopping places and things like that, supermarkets, you should wear your mask around other people. But whenever you're outside, you don't need your mask, and take your mask off when you're in large areas or outdoor areas. That didn't really change much. People were still wearing their masks all the time, and even when they're driving around, you can see people in their car wearing their masks. A lot of times you'll see me wearing my mask just down like this, and the reason is because I never know when I'm going to need it. Like right now I see 2 people I don't know if you can see them now, but they're just walking by. A guy with his bike and his girlfriend. They're outside, and they're both wearing their masks. They're walking together, and they're wearing their masks. How does that make any sense at all? But anyway, I keep this on as a courtesy for everybody else, so that if I'm like too close to people, I can just put it on. If I were Japanese, I would never wear a mask because I wouldn't really care. But I feel like, in a way, whether I like it or not, I'm kind of a representative, if you will, of foreigners. And I don't want to be that guy that looks like a jerk because I'm walking around all of the old people without a mask on. So, in the van, no mask. When I'm outside, no mask. When I'm not really close to people, no mask. Even when I was in Starbucks, I went through the line I was ordering. I had my mask like right here. I didn't even have it all the way on. There were a few people in there, always younger people, or maybe some kids that don't have a mask on. But it's kind of rare that I see any elderly people without a mask. And just just recently, within the past couple of weeks, the policy has completely expired. So the recommendations of, like I mentioned to you before, keeping the masks on when you're in close quarters and taking them off outside, even that's expired. Basically, what they're saying is you don't need masks at all, but you should be conscious of the elderly people and the vulnerable people around you, and when appropriate, put on your mask for their sake. Or if you're sick, put on a mask to protect other people. I don't have a problem with that, but when you look around at young people walking in the parking lot, like these two people, I just, what I want to say is it's stupid. That's stupid. There's no reason to do that. They're outside in a huge parking lot, and they are obviously together. They've been together probably for several hours. There's no one else around in the middle of the parking lot, and they're both wearing their masks. What is the purpose in that? Stupid, I think. But it has become, sadly, a very, very ingrained part of the culture, and I fear that Japan is not going to give up masks for many decades. And that's just my sad thought. I know that's a long answer, but it's a sore spot for me because I want to be able to see people's faces. I'm so tired of these stupid masks. I just want them to go away. I wanted them to go away a few years ago. What's this next question here? You said, do you think Japanese girls feel comfortable on masks? You mean comfortable wearing masks? Well, probably they don't want me to tell you this, but I have been told by more than a couple of girls here that they actually like the masks for a couple of reasons. But the main reason is, since you can't see most of their face, and if they're at work or whatever, they have to keep the masks on, right? So they don't have to work so hard putting on makeup and that sort of stuff. They can just put on a little bit, put the mask on, and it saves them time. They don't have to worry about, doing a whole lot of construction or whatever. So that's one reason why I know that the girls really like having the masks. And I want to be able to see the girl's face. I want to be able to see their faces. And even the guys, though, I want to see everybody's faces. But yeah, most of the girls like the masks, honestly. And I think that's the number one reason why. Let's see here. What did you say here? I'm trying to do a live video of the roads you drive. Let's spot cool cars. Well, did you see? I'm not sure if I posted a picture of it or not, but there's a Mexican restaurant that I really like to go to in Hiroshima, and the same road where that Mexican restaurant is, There's some rich guy who lives there. It looks like a mini hotel, but there are two Lamborghinis parked there, and they're matching colors with matching license plates. And one is like uh, I think it's a Huracan, Lamborghini Huracan, and the other is the Urus, the SUV, the Lamborghini SUV. They're the same color with the yeah. You're right, lots of money. And the license plates are exactly the same with like one little difference. Like one is like one and the other is two or something like that. But I did a funny picture with whenever my friend Koji, Roxy, and Evelyn also, when my friends were here for my birthday a couple of weeks ago, I posed for a picture. I was holding a key, like, those are mine, but it was just my Nissan van key. So that was pretty funny. Yeah, you can see some cool stuff sometimes. You don't see too many in Hiroshima, but yeah, definitely some. I would say probably more classic cars and older cars here than the newer sports cars. But earlier today, I saw a really cool Toyota. I couldn't figure out which model it was, but I was driving in front of one of the shopping centers, and the traffic was moving very slowly. So, of course, whenever there's a car trying to turn out, I and the other drivers, we will let them out, let them turn or go through. And this girl pulled up in this really cool two-door Toyota. It looked really, really cool. And I was surprised to see a girl driving it because these types of older classic sports cars, I normally see a guy driving these cars. But there was a really beautiful girl in the car driving that, and I was a little shocked. But I waved her out because I really wanted to see the back of the car. But there was nothing on the back of the car, so I couldn't figure out exactly what it was. Do they prefer to drive new cars more? Um, Sort of. Uh, I would say a lot of people do, and of course, if you know what a K car is, think of the cars like in America. These are the kind of cars that we'd make fun of. The small cars that somebody like me, I'm a little over 6 feet tall. I would never drive a K car seriously as my regular car. It's just too small. They're too small for me. They're mini cars, little cars. They are super popular in Japan. They are everywhere. And yeah, the compact small cars. But that's almost everything in Japan. And the main reason is because they just don't have the way they've built their society, the roads and the parking spaces and stuff. There's not a lot of room, so you kind of have to have these ridiculously small cars, especially if you're not rich. The only way you can really have a space to park your car is if you have more money. You can get either pay for a nicer parking spot, or you can have your own land, like I do because I'm so rich with my Kominka. Um, well, no, no, no. That's another thing. A K car is not just a small car. It's limited to how many CCs it is. And don't quote me on this, but maybe 600 cc and less or something like that. I know somebody's probably gonna see this video later and be like, no, it's this, blah blah blah. You said blah blah blah. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But there is a limit on how many cc's or horsepower, whatever the engine is. If it's beyond that, then it's going to be a white plate, like my van. My van is a white license plate. That means it has a larger engine. It also has um, better safety features. So if a vehicle has better safety features and a bigger engine, then it can be a white plate. But the K cars, well, to kind of back up your original question about new cars versus old cars, There are certain cars that for some reason people love, like that ridiculous Suzuki Jimny, the Jimny. It's only a two-door. I know it has like some extra seats in the back, but my God, what an impractical vehicle. I guess it's cute and that's why people like it, but it sells for way too much money. I think people who buy that are there's something wrong with their brain because they sell like hotcakes. They're much more expensive than they should be, and they don't have four doors. So I don't understand why they're so popular. Those can be older and used and sell easily, just like the trucks, like the K trucks, the farm K trucks. Those, yeah, you could say the Japanese Benz is like that. Um, but anyway, but a lot of people do like to buy the new cars. However, they also sometimes prefer to do the lease. You can get a lease where you're paying everything all at once. So your insurance, your payment for the car, plus all the maintenance and everything. You don't have to do the oil changes or any repairs or anything like that. That's becoming really, or has become really popular from what I know. So they're not even really buying the cars. They just lease them for a really long time. And then when the car starts to kind of wear out or whatever, they just get another one. So they're always paying for some type of lease, almost like a long-term rental. But the cool thing is about that, you don't have to pay for any maintenance, repairs, oil changes, or anything. You're just paying your monthly fee. And that's very popular. And the thing is, whenever you get an older car, if you're going to have to get rid of it and nobody wants to buy it, then you have to pay to get it recycled. So that's another thing to consider. With a lease or something like that, you don't have to worry about that because it's not your problem. And a newer car, you're going to have many more years of use before it needs to be recycled, so there's a better chance that you can sell it, and then you don't even have to deal with that. So it kind of depends on the person. Um, I see a couple of things flashed up here. Let's see what we've got. Um, V8, V6. Well, no, honestly, I would say that most of the vehicles on the road here are four cylinders, and the reason for that is because most of the cars are K cars, and K cars are not going to have a V6. That engine is going to be too big. If it has a V6, it's going to be beyond the amount of the limit of a K car, and they don't use those. I mean, if you think about it, most of the driving that Japanese do is for some type of commuting. And when they're doing their commuting and stuff, they just need a car that gets really good gas mileage, that doesn't cost very much to use or keep or maintain, and they can, cheaply go from point A to point B, short distances, not on long family trips and things like that. It's not like the US. The US, you really have to have a car. When you live in a city, there might not be any decent public transportation. In my hometown, there's no train or anything like that, and you don't want to get on the bus. The bus schedule is really crappy anyway, but it's also dirty and probably dangerous. So, and if you apply for a job, they ask you if you have a car. If you don't have a car, you can't get a job there. It's not like that in Japan, but still, in some places where they work a little outside the city, they might need to use the car for commuting and some other things, but there's no reason for them to have a much bigger van. Some of them do, but not everybody. And if it's a V6, it can't qualify as a K car. Let's see here. They get updated models by the dealer. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how their leases work because I can't do that. If I have long-term residency or permanent residency, then I can get those types of deals. I can get loans. I can get a house loan or mortgage or personal loans. I can get a loan for a car, things like that. But because my residency is considered temporary, which is like a 1-year work residency visa, I'm not able to get all of those things. So I don't know the details. However, from what I've heard, it can vary from one company to the next. So it's possible that one company has a deal where you just lease for so many years. And I do know for a fact that if you agree to a much longer lease, then you can get a better monthly rate. So if you're willing to get the same car for like 8 or 10 years instead of getting it for 2 or 4, you can pay much less. over, the period of each month than you would pay for the shorter lease. Let's see, what was that last? They don't have American trucks around. No, some do, some do, but it's just not something you're gonna see very often. And to be honest, even seeing a Toyota truck, like an actual Japanese pickup truck, and I don't mean the K trucks, I mean a full size pickup truck. You don't even see those very often. When you see one of those driving around, you do a kind of a double take. You go, oh, cool, it's a truck, because you don't really see trucks that often. Not even the Japanese trucks, the full size ones. But I have seen some really cool American trucks. There's one guy somewhere around Saijo, around this area, who has a Raptor, the Ford Raptor. That is really, really cool, but he paid a ton of money to get it, because those here are much more expensive than getting them in the US, and they're already expensive. I've also seen a couple of other really nice vehicles. Out in Toyosaka, not far from my house, I've seen a guy driving a super nice Mustang. It's a very late model sport, Mustang Sport. It is so cool. I was shocked to see it out in Toyosaka, out in the countryside, but he must have family out there or something, because I've seen him out there like 3 times. Another thing that you'll see a lot on these country roads, especially when the weather gets nicer, is motorcycles. And they like to get together and drive the motorcycles across the countryside. Apparently, the route that goes right by my house is kind of a tourist route and bus route, because ever since they loosened the travel restrictions a few months ago, I've been seeing a lot of buses go through there, tour buses. Is it hard driving on the left side? I wouldn't say that it's hard. At first, it's very awkward and strange. Takes a little getting used to. And if you allow yourself to accidentally kind of zone out, you can almost make a mistake. You sometimes want to go into the right lane. For those of you who are used to driving on the right side, there's only been one time when I was driving, and I told a friend of mine about this several weeks ago, but I was sitting at the red light in Saijo, and I needed to go back out to Toyosaka, which was from where I was at. It was about a 40-minute drive. It was late at night. I was very tired, and I was just zoned out. There was nobody on the street. My light was red, and I was just sitting there waiting to turn left. I couldn't turn left. You need a signal that says you can turn left. So even though nobody was coming, I couldn't just turn. I had to wait. And I was just kind of zoning out. I don't remember what I was thinking about. My mind was just wandering. And then suddenly the light turned green. And whenever I pulled out to turn left, I actually went across like I was crossing the road, and I went to turn on the right side. And as soon as I started to do it, I realized what I was doing. So I just pulled on into a cafe right there. There was a little cafe. So I just made it look like I was trying to take a shortcut into the cafe. But the truth was I turned on the wrong side. Now, that's the only time I've done that since I've been driving. And luckily, it was in the middle of the night. Nobody was on the road there, and nobody saw my stupid move. But the cool thing was that I really know that I did that out of just being so tired, zoned out, and muscle memory, source, just like force of habit. But I haven't had that big of a mistake, and I've been driving consistently now since November? So December, January, February, March. So I've been driving now for over 4 months regularly, and I've been getting in a lot of miles because I have to go to Hiroshima sometimes. I come to Saijo often. I go to get materials, and most recently, I was able to pick up my friend Koji and Roxy at the airport, and my friend Evelyn at the train station a couple of times, and I believe that all of them can see that I have driving skills, and I didn't hear any complaints. Maybe they were too scared to complain. I don't know. I see 4 people. Hello, everyone. The beginning of this video, I was talking about some requirements that are needed for some subsidies. It might not be required for you if you ever buy a house in Japan. It might not be required for you to do this particular thing, but it's highly possible that that you would need to do that. So if you have time, you can go back later and check it out. If you're interested in that, you can check it out. Right now, I was just hanging around to answer some random questions about Japan. So we just got onto the concept or the topic of cars and driving in Japan. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I'm just finishing off my latte. I've got a few more swigs, and then I'm gonna carry my butt back to Toyosaka. You can see that it's raining, not too heavily, just a little bit. So I'm glad that I got out of the rain. I think it's much quieter in here in the van. And I'm using, now that since I'm in the city right now, I supposedly have a 5G signal. So I'm hoping that this connection is much better than my previous live videos. I really wanted to try to use the Wi-Fi from Starbucks, but it was packed, man. I think the line went all the way to the door. Not as bad as it used to be when it first opened, but still pretty bad. And it was too loud inside. I wanted you guys to be able to hear me. I didn't want the audio to be bad like it was last time. You said you wanted to watch me drive? Well, I can do that, but you know, if I drive, then I'm not going to be able to look at the text. Yeah, you know, maybe if there's like a red light or something, I can stop and check, but if you really want me to drive, maybe I can do that, and that's how I'll end the video. I'll just ramble on for a few minutes. But what to show you? I don't have a stand for my phone, you see. I'd have to hold it with my hand. I think I took my tape out of here too. Last time I drove and I recorded what was going by the window, I used some tape to put the camera on the window, and that worked out perfectly. That was very stable. But let me see. I think right now I have nothing that can hold my camera. If I can work it out, I might have an idea. My friends used to call me MacGyver in high school. Any of you guys know MacGyver? And I'm not talking about the last show. I mean the original MacGyver with Richard Dean Anderson. The reason they call me MacGyver was because if something needed to be done or figured out, I was usually the guy to be able to do that. I used to install car stereos and all sorts of stuff for my friends in their cars and save them a lot of money. How's that? Let me try to move it like that. How's that? Is that okay? Almost. Alright, if you could see this, I think it would be really hilarious, because what I've done is I've got my portable battery bank. It's about this big, and that ain't safe. Yeah, you're right. And I've got my phone set on top of it, leaned against the handle, and then I've got my headset holding the phone in place. It appears to be somewhat stable, so well, I guess we can drive together for a few minutes. I don't know if it's going to be interesting or not. Oh, somebody's got a nice motorcycle going on. All right. It's interesting. There's a girl just standing outside in the rain. I don't know why. No umbrella. She's just standing there. Okay, let me double check right before I drive. Let me see if I got any more messages from you guys. Top chat. Yeah, let's see. For Purple Haze, you want me to peel out? I probably could, since it's a wet parking lot, but yeah, I don't want to be a fool. When I get my Lamborghini, I'll do a peel. I'll do a burnout. Oh, the car next to me is now moving. No cars at all on either side, all the way down, except for one right next to me. And as soon as I crank up and I'm getting ready to move, that one decides to move. Right? Figures. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's move. All right, where I'm at right now is a newer shopping center that was built just maybe, I don't know, a little over half a year ago. And they've got so many different stores over here, including a huge, really nice hardware store. Whoa. As soon as I pull out, it falls over. It figures. 1 second. I've got to get through the intersection here. I'm sorry about that. The camera keeps falling down, but I can't address it directly because I'm driving. But okay, I got a red light coming up here. I'll stop and see what I can't do to stabilize the camera. Maybe I can just put it back up here. Let's see. I don't know if this will hold, but we'll give it a try. How's that? If it stays, it's okay. Looking good so far. I'm trying to think if there's something else that I might have forgotten that might be useful or interesting for you guys that's related to what I was saying earlier about the subsidies and the registration. Okay, let's just do this for a moment until I'm actually going to stop at the Kombini, the 7-Eleven, in just a couple of minutes. And from there I'll decide what to do, if I need to end the video or just set it up. But we'll cross that road when I get to it. Cross that road. Cross that bridge. Anyway, I will say that there are different requirements depending on whoa. Somebody's walking across the road, but they're not walking through the crosswalk. So, and they're wearing all black with a black umbrella. I couldn't even barely see them. So that's not very safe. Everyone's situation is not the same. Some people are very similar or the same, and some are not. So it's possible that you don't necessarily need to do the steps that I need to do. But I do think it's helpful, hopefully. Even if just one person can say, hey, I saw what you said about that registration certificate, house registration certificate, and it really helped me out. I hope that somebody can say that at some time, because for me, I really thought that it was the same as basically my address registration, my own personal address registration, but it's not. It's different. And like I said earlier in the video, for some reason, it was getting lost in the translation, and because my sensei couldn't actually come to the office with me and talk to the department, we weren't able to figure out the details. But now, not only did we figure it out, or rather because I went down there by myself and started asking a lot of specific questions, and I guess you could say I've gotten better since I've been living here. I've gotten better at figuring out how to ask questions in a different way so that I can get the information I need. And from there, I was able to go and get the registration certificate. So once I realized that the legal affairs office was a completely different thing, different office, different paperwork, then I was able to actually go down there and get what I needed, and I'm prepared. So I feel confident that whenever I go to register for the earthquake inspection, I'm pretty sure that it will be able to come off without a hitch. That's what I think anyway. Alright, I just pulled up to 7-Eleven. You guys want to go into 7-Eleven right quick? Let's do that. Let's go into 7-Eleven. There are 3 guys standing outside smoking. I like how they're just smoking. They've got their smoking set up right by the door. Right by the door. There's just no way I can avoid that smoke when I go in. But I want to toss away this cup. So let me chug it. It's like 2 swallows. It's not really chugging. Oh, nobody's watching anymore. Cool, that means I can end this after I go to the convenience store. Let me double check, see if I've got a... Okay. No more chat messages. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this bottle, my Starbucks cup. Hey, Dawn. Good to see you. How are you doing? You caught me when I was just about to go in the convenience store and drop off these and then wrap up the video. I'm on my way back to Toyosaka from Saijo. How are you doing? You'll have to excuse me while I try to adjust my hands so I can get out of the car, or the van rather. Okay. This is 7-Eleven. Let's put that right there. Okay. There is a new drink in 7-Eleven that I like. There's no sugar. And supposedly it has like a full day's worth of vitamins. Do you believe it? It's a soda. This right here. You can take a screenshot of that. You can translate it. It's pretty interesting. But anyway, try not to be too obnoxious. Go up here and buy this, and then head back out to go home. Konbanwa. Hi. お支払い方法をお選びください。現金を入れ終わりましたら、確認の上、OK ボタンを押してください。お釣りとレシートをお受け取りください。お取り忘れにご注意ください。ありがとうございます。Finished. Yeah. 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven. Okay. It's a little chilly tonight, not too bad. I've got on a sweatshirt that is too small. One long sleeve shirt and then my light jacket, and it's about right. It was a little warm earlier, but now it's okay. Anyway, let me see if you got a message on here, so I'll try to respond. Are you living there in Yoshiwara, Tosaka alone? Yeah. Occasionally, Dawn, some people come out. Luckily, if you saw some of the videos I posted recently, I've got another one to post where Glenn from Australia, he came over 3 separate days earlier this week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. He came over to the villa just maybe for about around 5 hours or so, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and he helped me get a lot of stuff done. And so occasionally people come over and help with some stuff. Evelyn's been over a couple of times, and every once in a while Till comes over. He's a German friend, but I would say the vast majority of the time it's just me. And not that that's my preference. I do like my alone time, but I guess my alone time has just been too much alone time. But yes, I do live there alone, to answer your question in a very quick, easy way. How about you? Do you live alone? If my house, my Kominka were in Saijo, um, I don't know. You know, there there are pluses and minuses to my house being in the countryside. Oh, okay. Oh, Mitt, you're more than welcome to come over. It would. It's been so nice. I didn't know how well it was going to work out when people first started saying that they would come over and help out. I didn't know how it was going to work out because I don't have, rather I didn't have any kind of plan as to what I would do whenever people came over. What would we tackle? What would we focus on? But I think that depending on the person that comes over and what they're interested in, I've been able to actually kind of figure out a way to cater what we're doing to know me. No, oh, oh yeah, you mentioned that before, and you on the map you can see my place. If you look up English Vera, you can see my place on Google Maps. It's listed as a business on Google Maps. How far is it from where you live? It should be very close. Maybe what, like less than 10 minutes? Should be, I guess, right? And like I will say, I don't know what your schedule is, but I will say this: like tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, those 3 days, I'm gonna be at the house the whole time. Yeah, 10 minutes is what I was thinking. No more than 10 minutes. Toyosaka is not a metropolis, and when you're driving, it's easy to get around. It doesn't take very long. You can get through Toyosaka in 10 minutes. So from one end to the other, it's not too far. Even Tom Milk Farm is probably one of the furthest locations, or farthest locations from my house. I'm kind of on one end, and Tom Milk Farm is on the other. I'm very close to the border where um, Miyoshi is. Do you know where Cat Cat Cafe is? The Cat Cat place? I still haven't been there. I really want to go there, but I don't want to go there alone. I'd like to go there with somebody. Maybe you and I can go over there one day. But if you go down to that first intersection in Toyosaka from my house and you turn right, you can go to Cat Cat. And I really want to go down there, but that's technically in Miyoshi. So Miyoshi is very close to Yoshiwara. And anyway, but for the next 3 days, I really can't go anywhere. I can't spend any more money. I drove to Saijo today and I was debating about whether to do it or not because I just I can't keep burning my money on burning gas. However, even though I did get to relax and watch a movie, which I feel like I really needed, um, I was able to get some stuff done that was also really needed. Your house is near the high school. Okay, cool. The high school is that the one that's on the main street where Juntendo is, the hardware store and all of that, or is that on the same street as like Tom Milk Farm? I think that's the high school closer to the milk farm, right? Before you get to the T intersection and turn right. So if you're going north from Saijo, the high school is on the left, right? Like not far from Tom Milk Farm. and then you get to the T intersection and you go right to go towards Nintendo, the hardware store in my house. Okay. Yep, I thought so. I've never actually been to the high school, but just seeing it from the road, it looks like a high school to me. There's another school that's on the other road. Once you get to the intersection, you turn right and go down that way, but it just looks like a junior high school to me. That's what it looks like. So either that or a big elementary school, but I thought maybe it was junior high school. Not that I'm an expert, just my experience of working at a junior high school, it looks similar, right? But yeah, man, if you've got time this weekend, I'm home and I'm really, really happy and raring to go because now that the kitchen is cleaned out completely, the stuff outdoors is slowly getting cleaned up, and the dirt and the soil outside it got moved around a lot. That's the other video I haven't posted yet. When I get home tonight, if I'm not sleepy, I'll probably edit that short video of Glenn and I doing the time lapse, cleaning up all the soil away from the house. If you remember my earlier video where you can see the old Mazda Luce, the sedan, and the building, not the building, but the roof or whatever, the covering that had collapsed on top of that car. That area right there where that car used to be, that has all of that dirt has been completely moved out off of the concrete down to the ground, and we moved it all back and created a huge mound that we called Fuji 2 or Mount Fuji the Second. So I've got my own little huge mound way in the back. However, if I can open that gate up, if I can get that gate widened, I can start pulling my van in there and parking, which would be super great. That would be really, really nice. And I would love to park there instead of parking all the way down on the end where my guest house kura is. That would be great. Take a little swig of my vitamins, my daily vitamins. I will say that for something that supposedly has no sugar, this tastes amazing. I'm a little scared about drinking this because it makes so many bold claims. Zero cider, but it means zero sugar, but zero cider. I think it means zero sugar, cider flavor. Triple vitamin. And when I translated it, it basically said something like all the vitamins you need for a day in one bottle. Really? Okay. But like I was saying, yeah, Don, if you've got time, man, just feel free to come out. Baton Rouge. No, but I've been to Baton Rouge many times. I've watched several LSU games there. I don't know if you've ever seen me wear my LSU hat, my LSU stuff. I did go to Louisiana State University in Shreveport, so LSU Baton Rouge is my home school. And I've seen several games in Tiger Stadium, several awesome football games. That's a great place to watch a football game. I've never been to a better place for a football game. And of course, they've also got some good events during Mardi Gras. I much prefer the Mardi Gras in Baton Rouge. And food, music. It's a great city to visit and have fun in, but it's just not a good place to live. I'm from Shreveport. Shreveport is in northwest Louisiana. Very, very close to the border. Interstate 20 going towards Dallas. You can hop in a car and drive over to Dallas in 3 hours or less. Depends on, how much you break the law. If you have a radar or not. Oh, yeah. Yeah, high school in a city like Baton Rouge, for me, would have been much better, I think, than going to the high school that I went to. I went to a private high school in a village, an actual village, and I don't believe that there were more than 5 or 6 students in the entire high school that actually lived in that village. Most all of the other students went, or lived rather, in Mansfield, which was the larger town. And not that Mansfield's a large town, but it was much larger than the village where I went to high school. However, it was a private school, and the classes were really, really small, so there was a really good interaction with the teacher. I think if you focused on your studies, you could really, really excel in your studies. However, they suffered in some other ways because, not. I mean, my class had like 13 students. Can you believe that? 13 students in my high school. So, high school class. My brother had, I think, between 6 and 8 students in his class. Can you believe that? That's pretty crazy, right? My Several of my baseball friends that that played on the football team in Mansfield, they went to state and won. They were number one in all of Louisiana one year. Triple A, I think, Triple A football. And I was so upset because I remember listening to them on the radio and thinking I could have been on that team. I really wanted to be a receiver, and I had the build for it, I had the ability, but my mom and dad didn't want me to play football. They didn't want me to get injured. So, was it good or not? I don't know. But I was sad that my friends played and won the championship, and I didn't get to be there. You're an English teacher in Japan. Please teach me. um. Well, yeah, my residency is based on my current contract, which is teaching English with an ALT dispatch company, which you're probably familiar with. Essentially, an ALT is an assistant language teacher that works for a private company. That company gets contracts with the Board of Education in different areas throughout Japan, and then they tell the teachers which schools to go to. Normally, the foreign English teachers, the ALTs, will go to 3 or 4 schools in a week. So maybe on Monday go to this junior high school, on Tuesday go to that elementary school, maybe 2 different schools in a day. It varies, but excuse me. When I was in Hiroshima City teaching up until December 1st of last year, I was teaching at a junior high only. So I was full time 5 days a week at the same junior high school, which most teachers don't do. And I got very close to my colleagues and the students, and it was very difficult when I had to take off because of health reasons. But currently, I'm still on medical leave because of my kidney issue, and I haven't been, working. I haven't been teaching or working since December 1st. So from then until right now, I've been on leave, medical leave. Um, but my my work contract is up in about 9 days or so. And at that point, within I think 20 to 30 days or something like that, I have to report to immigration and let them know that I don't have a working contract anymore. And then they have to decide if they're going to give me an extension to give me time to find a job. However, I'm on medical leave. I'm not looking for another job because I need time to recover and get over this stupid tumor that's on my kidney. So recently, the doctor made a recommendation that I am off, or I take off for 6 months. Now, the ridiculous thing about that is that immigration doesn't necessarily have a policy about how to handle this situation because Normally, they would just say, "Well, you're losing your contract. You need to get another contract with another company, get another job if you want to keep your visa." Now that's the thing. My visa, my residency, is good until October of this year. However, I can't just not have a work contract and keep my residency. It actually doesn't work that way. Even though my actual residency is good until October, I still have to report to immigration and see if they will give me an extension. And how long that extension is can vary. If it's a normal extension, probably I would have maybe 2 months or something like that to find another job. However, I'm not working. I'm on medical leave, and I'm not looking for another job because I need to be on medical leave, and that's proven by my doctor's note, right? So when I give all that information to immigration, what are they going to decide? I don't know. I don't know. But I believe I'm supposed to go and talk to them about this issue when I go to my next doctor's appointment, which is coming up on April 3rd. So I guess you could say that will be a big announcement on my channel after I get the news from immigration, because they have to decide how to handle my situation. My only other option in order to stay here, if for some reason they decide not to extend it or give me much time, the only two options I would have are, one, get another job, go back to work, even though I have the health issue. Or, number two, quickly get married. Those are the only real two options. I would love to go back to school. That's what I really want to do. I think I've mentioned that before on here, but I really just want to go back to school, study Japanese. I don't want to study anything else. I just want to go into a Japanese language program full time. It has to be at least 10 hours a semester in order to get me student residency. And then my residency issue is solved. However, I don't think that I can get into any programs until October at the earliest. So it coincides with my visa, right? Or my current visa residency. But the immigration still has to approve something like that. It can't just wait until October and then become a student. Between now and then, I don't have a working contract, so I still have to go talk to them. It's a strange, complicated situation. So for those of you who've been in that, maybe you're familiar with it, but if you haven't, it's a little complicated. If you have any questions about it, you're welcome to send them to me, and I'll try to help you out as best I can. But, Don, do you actually need to study English? Really? You said teach me? Is that what you said? Please teach me? Do you need to learn? Well, if I can meet the right one who's not attached, okay, then I'm more than open to marriage. I have no problem with that. I've had some opportunities to get married, but I don't want to get married just out of convenience. A woman would have to have some unbelievable, great reasons for me to just quickly marry her for convenience. I mean, if I met a movie producer who was loaded, then I think it would be a no-brainer. I'd have to marry her instantly because making films is my passion. Writing stories and making films is my passion, but I haven't been able to do anything in a really long time because of the pandemic, financial reasons, and more recently in the past year, health reasons. So I've been kind of shut down in that area for a few years. So if I met a really wealthy, successful woman who was a producer in film and said, "Hey, listen, I want a husband and you want residency, let's get married," I'd probably say yes right away. Just being honest. But I don't see any reason to just jump into a marriage simply for residency. I don't see that as a recipe for success. Mm. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I know that the people who get to know me, my friends, say that, They say I'm a nice guy. The only people that seem to have problems with me are like psychopaths and rude people. I don't get along very well with rude people. Let's see if I can set this up here. I'm not driving right now, so I think I can set my... Yeah, there we go. That's better. Now I can... My hands are getting tired holding the phone up. But yeah, I guess I'm an okay guy. I care about people. I'm a sensitive guy. I'm very thoughtful. It's just that my health has kind of hindered me. The pandemic hindered me from meeting people. And of course, there's the language barrier because my Japanese isn't fluent enough to be able to carry on a deep conversation. I can figure out some shallow information about somebody, and I can give some shallow information to them. Just, basic surface information in Japanese. But when it comes to getting into more important discussions, it either has to be a mixture of Japanese and English, or I have to use the help of a translator, like an app or something, in order to try to get my point across. And the sad thing is that although I have a lot of patience, so if I meet the right girl, she doesn't necessarily have to speak any English. I mean, my last girlfriend that I had while I was in China, she and I were together for a few years, and we had a really great relationship overall. And I do miss her sometimes because we had such a great relationship, but she just wasn't, she didn't have the courage or the ability to let go of her family and move with me to Japan. So unfortunately, we disconnected and split up, but we still sometimes just say hi to each other to see how we're doing because, we had such a close relationship. She could only speak a few words of English. She could only say like, no, yes, I don't know, and hello, or, things like that. If you asked her, what's your name? She didn't know the answer to that. She would just say, 听不懂, which means I don't understand in Chinese. So I spoke a lot more Chinese than she spoke English. She only spoke a few words of English. But it didn't bother me. And the reason was because she and I both had a lot of patience. So she never got angry. When she misunderstood, she had a very good ability to try to understand. It's so funny because she wasn't trying to get better at English. She didn't care at all. She just wanted to make sure that she understood what was going on, and then she was fine. She would never get bent out of shape or impatient. But I have met some people, not just in China, but also in Japan, where you're talking, and when I say people, I'm talking about girls in particular, because like dating and that sort of thing. But there have been times where I've met or gone out on a date with a girl, and they can speak some English, but they misunderstand a lot of what you say. You say something, and then they take it as meaning something completely different or incorrect, not what you meant to say. And then when you try to explain it, they just can't accept it because they've already made up their mind that what they thought they understood is what you were saying. And there's so many examples of that happening while I was in China. But that's also happened here with a couple of ladies. And once they... Not everybody. There's just a certain type of person that has, very little patience. Once they've made up their mind what you meant, you can't change their mind. And people like that, you just can't. You can't have a long-term relationship with because they're so impatient. So people like that, I can't get along with. But like I said, even if a lady can't speak any English at all, if she's very patient and loving and thoughtful and supportive, I think these are foundational things that a person needs to be. And I believe that I'm that. I'm a patient, caring, thoughtful, kind guy. So at least I think I am. People tell me I am. And I did shave recently. So I think that makes me look better in Japan, right? If I grow out all this hair, then I would just scare everybody. But actually, I had my head shaved, like really close. I went to the QB house. If you know what that is, it's a really cheap place where you can go and get your hair cut for like $9, $8 or $9. And I just told them use the number two electric razor and cut everything. And he asked me like three times, here too, and here, and I said yes, everything. Coco, 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 coco. Okay, and finally he cut it all. But yeah, super short, like a peach right now. But it's a little warmer these days. So when I'm doing a lot of stuff and outside, it's easier to stay cool. And I did go to the onsen yesterday, and that's where I shaved. It felt so nice to just go in there, have a nice hot shave, relax in the hot tub, and just enjoy it. So anyway, anything else we got here? And yeah, by the way, I meant to tell you, Don, if you're still around, I can't see who's in the chat. I can only see like the yeah, I can't see any recent comments. But if you want to contact me, I can't remember if you got my line info to message me online, but if you go to my YouTube page, my main YouTube page, where it says about, you can get my email address, which is like englishvira@gmail.com. You can email me, and then we can connect through there, like online or something like that. And you can just, we can communicate there and find a time for you to come over. You know, if nothing else, you can come over and check out the house and walk around, and I'll give you the tour. And then if you're able to spend some time helping out, that would be really great. That would be very appreciated. Let's see. Am I military? No. I am not military. My brother was in the National Guard. That's kind of military. The Louisiana National Guard. He was in there for a couple of years, and I had some friends go into the military, also into the National Guard. None of them went into like the federal, I guess you could say national, actual federal military, like the Navy, the Army, or the Air Force, or Marines, or anything like that. Most of the people I knew just went into the Louisiana National Guard, and they, put in their weekend drill time in Louisiana. And I think they graduated and had to do basic training at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And they tried to push me into it. I took the required tests, like the ASVAB battery test, and apparently I scored really, really high on it, and they tried to talk me into it. They recruited me pretty heavily. They wanted me to join. Looking back now, I wish I'd gone, because if I'd been able to go in, I could have gone in and gone out in a certain amount of time. They would have paid for my university. I could have learned some extra skills that would have really helped me out, and I could have had the opportunity to be stationed overseas and get a really good experience. But the reason that I didn't is because I didn't want to get wrapped up in a war. I didn't want to be sent to some war overseas that I didn't believe in, and that's why I stayed out. But looking back now, I can see that during that time, there was not anything going on that was important. So I could have gone into the military, got some really good experience and training and free education, and gotten out without having to see any fighting at all. Could have just, if I'd been lucky, could have gotten stationed in Japan. Now, of course, I have a daughter, so I wouldn't trade her for anything. But if I could keep my daughter, then I would definitely go back, go into the military, and go to Japan and be stationed in Japan, as long as I could keep my daughter. If for some reason that threatened me being able to keep her, then no, I wouldn't change anything, even though I had a horrible marriage. Let's see here. Yeah, Dawn, I'll see you soon too. Well, I didn't mean for this video to be so long. It's an hour and 40 minutes, and I don't have much else to say. I do need to drive home. I'm not sure what time it is right now. Let me grab this other phone. This is my Danny phone, right? DIY Japan. Danny, he sent me this iPhone so I can do some more videos more easily. It's 10:37 right here, and I'm about to drive home. I'm sitting here at 7-Eleven, just enjoying my really nice vitamin drink. It does taste really good though. The 7-Eleven driver is delivering some stuff. But I do want to go home. I don't think it'd be very interesting, right, for me to keep chatting. Is there anything else that I can tell you guys about? If you can tell me something that you want me to tell you about, then I can tell you while I'm driving, and I'd be happy to do that. But right now, I think I'm kind of fresh. Like I got everything off my chest that I wanted to say, primarily about the registration papers for your house. That was the main thing that I wanted to tell you guys about, and that's finished. So let me grab this. So I guess I'll go ahead and sign off. I don't want to hold you guys up any longer. If you have any questions about anything that was discussed here, or if there's anything else that you think that I might can answer or give you a suggestion on, or just my opinion, because I'm not an expert. I do have my own experience here, not just with the Kominka and with buying the house and all that kind of stuff, of course, but also with life in Japan and daily stuff. And I have some experience in some unique things that other people haven't been going through, like the medical leave stuff. Over the next few weeks, how that plays out, it's going to be new to me. I've got some new stuff that I'm having to do. So if you have any questions about any of that stuff, hopefully I can help answer that for you. But I see that no one's in the chat now, so that's my cue to jump out of here. Love you guys and gals. Thank you so much for joining. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Tomorrow morning, for me, I've got a video coming up. Really nice long video. I highly recommend that you get relaxed, get into a bathtub, get you something nice to drink, something to snack on, watch that video, and let's have a bath together, because that's what I'm going to do in that video. But anyway, that's all for now. Hope you guys have a good night or good morning or afternoon wherever you are. Mwah. Love you very much. Janet. Bye bye.